Well, I thought I'd heard them all. We got a new one, a new dumb argument being proposed. And I don't want to hear any crap about this being a straw man argument. It may sound preposterous, but actually it has been proposed out there. And the argument goes like this. So Kyle Rittenhouse is walking down the street and Jojo Rosenbaum ambushes him. Kyle runs. Jojo Rosenbaum chases him. Most people would look at that and say, that looks to me like Jojo Rosenbaum is the aggressor. But no, you see, Kyle is the aggressor because he didn't run in the right direction. He ran into an empty parking lot. And Jojo had to chase him, I guess, for some reason. I don't know. And then when they got to a dark place, Kyle turned his gun on Jojo and shot him. You see, it was Kyle's fault. It was part of an evil scheme by Kyle. And the fact that you know that this was an evil scheme was because he could have ran to the local population and asked for their help, but he instead ran into an empty parking lot. Hello out there. I am trying to get through.
With his powerful brainwaves cradled in the warmth of reasoning, it's time for Johnnie Walker Dread to straighten you out on a thing or two. Emanating all the way from exciting Las Vegas, Oklahoma, it's the Johnnie Walker Dread Show.
So here is how those who are making this argument envision it. You see, they're going to have a trial, and they're going to have one of those experts get up there, and the expert's going to tell the jury what Kyle should have done. And the fact that, well, if Kyle didn't do the right logical thing, that shows he's guilty. And so what would the expert say? He would get up there and say, Kyle Rittenhouse, he could have asked those protesters for help. He could have ran to them and asked, please help me. And of course, they would have helped him. But he didn't do that. He ran into this empty parking lot away from the protesters. What an illogical thing to do. That shows he's guilty. And of course, the jury would say, oh, wow, that makes a lot of sense. If you're being chased by some maniac, and certainly Jojo Rosenbaum is a maniac, the first thing I would do is I would run to the bosoms of the local population. They would help me. If I don't do that, well, that means I'm not really looking for help. I'm trying to lure Jojo Rosenbaum into a dark place where I can shoot him. Now, the defense gets up. Mark Richards approaches this expert and says, Mr. Expert, when you see the scene here unfolding in front of you, Kenosha at night, with all the protesters, where are the police? Well, they're like, away from there. They're in a police line, holding a police line. Right. Well, are there crimes being committed? Well, yeah. Well, why aren't the police going in there and arresting people? They're afraid of getting beat up by the protesters. Oh, they're afraid of getting beat up by the protesters. The same people you claim that Kyle should run to. Okay, where is the fire department? I mean, there's arson going on, right? Yeah. Where are the firemen? They're afraid of getting beat up by the protesters. Oh, they're afraid of getting beat up by the protesters. What about EMT? Are there people being hurt? Yeah. Well, why aren't the EMT personnel in there helping them? Well, they won't go there. Well, why? Because it's not secured. What do you mean by not secured? They're afraid of getting beat up by the protesters. That's right. The same people who are supposed to be community support, salt of the earth, are the ones that are keeping the fire, police, and EMT out of there because they're violent. These are the people that Kyle was supposed to run to and ask for help. So the story goes that Kyle Rittenhouse should have ran to the people, the Kenosha community that was out there peacefully protesting his decision to go into the empty parking lot. Well, that just shows how guilty he really was. He should have ran to the protesters. They would have helped him. So you can imagine Kyle Rittenhouse calling his dad. Dad, I'm being chased. Where should I go? Oh, well, are there any people around there that can give you support that will help you? Yeah, yeah. There's a man and his wife really close by, and they're BLM protesters. Son, you need to go to them. You tell them that this JoJo Rosenbaum, he's out to hurt you. Those people, they'll help. Good advice? Well, let's suppose that Kyle Rittenhouse took that advice. Who would he then turn to for support? Who were the ones closest to the action? The BLM protesters that were in the best position to help him. Joshua Zeminski and his wife Kelly. Yeah, that's who Kyle should have ran to and asked for help, because these are protesters that were closest to the action. When Kyle was first chased by JoJo Rosenbaum, they were right there. Kyle could have ran to them and asked for their support. What would have happened? Well, in case you don't know it, Joshua Zeminski has a long criminal record. His wife Kelly is no angel either. Both of them are vicious BLM agitators. And guess what? Joshua Zeminski has a gun. In fact, there's a lot of people who are making the claim that this whole ambush thing was set up by Josh Zeminski, not JoJo. Now, we don't know for sure. But remember one thing, it was Josh Zeminski that fired the first shot. He's the one that probably got JoJo Rosenbaum killed. And according to the argument, Kyle should have ran to them and asked for their help. And after Kyle shot JoJo, who was it that was egging on the crowd to go chase Kyle and attack him? One of the things that Kyle's detractors fail to understand is that when he was ambushed by JoJo, he's not necessarily thinking clearly. He's in what we call fight or flight. And regardless of whether you choose fight or flight, you can become very tunnel visioned. You develop this inability to weigh anything other than just simply escaping danger. In the movies, we see it all the time. You have people that are running down the road while they're being chased by a car. And of course, we're always yelling at them, get out of the road. As long as you are running down the road, the car can continue after you. Why don't they do that? Well, it's called fight or flight. Now, you may think, well, that's the movies. We don't see that in real life. Or do we? Okay, so who do we have here? Ahmaud Arbery. Let's see if we can apply the same kind of reasoning to Ahmaud as we do to Kyle Rittenhouse. Okay, so the people in the truck ahead of him here, they're chasing him. One has a rifle. Now, where should Ahmaud run? Well, they're in a truck. The last place he'd want to run would be down the street. Which direction does he run? Down the street. So now he's going to veer to the right. At this point, you think, okay, he's going to run to the right to get away from the truck. The truck can't follow him. The truck can only drive down the street. So what does he do? He instead goes around and confronts one of the people holding the shotgun. So now we can second guess this all day long. Why didn't he run to the right? Why didn't he run to the left? But Ahmaud Arbery is being chased. He's under a lot of strain. He's in fight or flight. Now, whether you believe that Ahmaud Arbery is guilty of theft or whether you think that the McMichaels are guilty of murder is completely different here. But the point is that you cannot expect people when they're in fight or flight to be able to do the most logical thing. They can't weigh all the options and choose the best one. They get tunnel vision. And that's what's happened to Ahmaud Arbery. There are a lot of people who say because he didn't run to the right and try to get away from his attackers, that shows that he was the aggressor. Nonsense. And the same goes for Kyle. So the notion that Kyle is guilty because he didn't run to help, so the notion that Kyle is guilty because he chose to run into an empty parking lot instead of running into the bosom of the BLM is a really dumb argument. Like my video and subscribe to my channel.